It comes from Go Math Lesson 7.4, in which we're identifying parts of expressions. And our central question asks us, how can you describe the parts of an expression? Take a moment to read the Unlock the Problem to yourself. Okay, and it reads, at a gardening store, seed packets cost $2 each. Martin bought 6 packets of lettuce seeds and 7 packets of pea seeds. The expression 2 times 6 plus x represents the cost in dollars of Martin's seeds. Identify the parts of the expression, then write a word expression for 6 times or 2 times 6 plus x. So let's just first of all go through the steps of the problem solving plan and first identify what this question is really asking us to do. And I know you know that sometimes there's an actual question mark, but rather a period that will tell us, okay, this is something that you're asked to find. In this case, it's identify parts of the expression. That's the first thing that we're asked to do. The second thing is then for us to write a word expression for 2 times the sum of 6 and 7, or 2 times 6 plus 7. Now, we know the important facts in this problem happen to be that seed packets cost $2 each. Martin happened to buy 6 packets of lettuce seeds, and he also bought 7 packets of pea seeds. Now, why that's important might come up a little later. And then, of course, we've got our expression here that is just as equally important, that tells us what each of these values represents. Nonetheless, since we're asked to describe the parts of the expression, let's look at what the actual parts are. Well, I see a number value, 2 number values, and then 2 operation symbols. So that tells me that, of course, we're looking at multiplication and addition in this particular expression. Now, the part that's actually in the parentheses is this part right here. And that shows us that we're looking to find the sum of 6 and 7 combined. Now, the parts of the expression that are in the parentheses we know are the sum of 6 and 7. And the sum of 6 and 7, what does that represent? Well, that's why we circled some of these important facts. 6 packets of lettuce seeds, 7 packets of pea seeds. So it really represents basically the sum of the packets of lettuce seeds plus the sum of the packets of pea seeds. So kind of, in essence, both seeds together. One of the factors happens to be 2. And the other factor is going to then have us look at, because remember, here's our 2, the sum of 6 and 7. And that particular product is going to represent the cost per packet times the number of packets. Now, if we go back to our original problem where it gives us the facts, we know we circled this $2 each, but why? Well, because we know that it's the cost for seeds. If he buys 6 packets of lettuce seeds and 7 packets of pea seeds, he's still going to be paying $2 each for those packets, but why not make our lives easier and look at finding the sum of 6 and 7 first to tell us, okay, how many seeds in total, and then really essentially multiplying that number by 2. So a word expression, because remember we're asked to identify the parts of expression. We got that. And we know the multiplication. We know there's addition. We know that there's sum of 6 and 7 is what we're looking at, and then looking at that sum and finding the product of 2 and that sum. So a word expression would look at saying 2 times the sum of 6 and 7 is the product of 2 and the sum of 6 and 7. Now we're basically taking this and writing it in words. Take a look. Product for multiplication of 2 and the sum of 6 and 7 is what we wrote. And there was a part that we skipped up here that I want to go back to, and it says explain how you could find the cost of each type of seed. Well, how could you find the cost of each type of seed? Well, you got it right if you mentioned that you need to multiply the number of packets by the cost per packet. And we know that word per is a pretty important signal word, and we see it oftentimes in math. Now I'm going to have you do the explain on your own. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next example, and that next example comes on the next page. We've got some vocabulary terms that we've already front-loaded, so we know that when we look at terms, we're really looking at the parts of the expression that are separated, that are separated by addition or subtraction. So that's important. We'll go ahead and annotate that. And then a coefficient is a number that's multiplied by a variable. So we've got terms, parts of the expression that are separated by addition or subtraction sign. Coefficient is in fact the number when we look at that is multiplied by a variable. Okay, so identify the parts of the expression, then write words expression for the algebraic expression. No problem, we got this. 2x plus 8. Well, the expression is, what is it? It's the sum of two different terms, right? Because we've got this addition symbol, so we know it's the sum of. And those terms happen to be, the term 2x, because remember, it's separated by this addition sign, so that's a term. And then the other term is 8. So we've got two separate terms here. We've got 8 here as one term, and then we've got 2x, and then we've got the addition sign that separates the two. The first term is the product of the coefficient, one of our key terms, 2, and the variable x. And if you remember, coefficient is the number that's multiplied by the variable. So what number is multiplied by the variable when we look at 2x plus 8? 2. That's the coefficient. The second term here, is the number 8. So a word expression for 2x plus 8 really is just us looking at 8 more than, because addition means more than, in addition to the product, one of our other signal words, of 2 and x. Now, how do we come up with that? Well, we're looking at term, and then we've got the addition sign in between. This coefficient 2 and x gets multiplied together, so we know when we multiply, we can say the product of, and we can say more than for addition, or in addition to, or the sum of 8. But as we wrote it here, it really is a way to kind of streamline everything. So 8 more than the product of 2 and x is how we're going to write it here. Now 3a minus 4b. Well, do we have terms here? You betcha, we've got two different terms. 3a, 4b. 3a and 4b are two terms. What's the coefficients? Well, the coefficients happen to be 3 and 4. Okay. Well, in this particular expression, this expression is a subtraction expression, so we're looking at the difference of two terms. The terms are, in fact, 3a and 4b, as we mentioned already. The first term is the product of that fancy word that we front-loaded, coefficient? 3. And what's the variable beside 3? A. The second term is the product of the coefficient 4 and the variable B. Now, a word expression for the algebraic expression is the difference of 3 times A and 4 times B. So you can get more practice with this that really goes through how to write out word expressions when you're given the actual values. And I think that for most of you, you're realizing those signal word lists that we made is really going to be helpful in this.